Welcome to Stirring the Pot podcast, a podcast all about discussing controversial food subjects, historical aspects of food, and pretty much everything else food and cooking related. First off, happy Halloween, everyone. Let me start by introducing my spooky co-host. First up, we have Mr. Barbecue Brand, an aficionado of all things barbecue and a recently featured guest on Food Network's Barbecue USA. Welcome, Barbecue Brand.
What's up, y'all? Look, I'm not a referee like the sorry guys you see on Sundays. I'm a barbecue referee, all right? I got my flag. I'm channeling my inner Rodney Scott here, all right? So, let's go.
Next up, we have Mr. Brandon D., a connoisseur of Louisiana and Southern cuisine and a self-proclaimed food science nerd. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Stirring the podcast, Halloween edition. Happy Halloween, everybody! I'm taking this off because I can't even hear myself with this thing on. But it looked cool to begin with, right? I mean, it works.
Right. I am your host, KCP, a baking and cooking enthusiast and a lover of all Southern culture, history, and cuisine. Tonight's topic is all about cookies. Tonight we will discuss the sweet history of cookies and the many different types that we all know and love today. How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Lovely. Yes, indeed.
Y'all ready for trick-or-treaters?
Hey, we got
some. Yeah, we'll get some.
We got our bags of candy. We got our kids. We got costumes.
Look, I'm just saying this. Look, once you're above the age of 12, you can no longer trick or treat. You know, kids coming to our door with book sacks and no costumes. I'm like, it's not how this works, bro. I need to be entertained.
This is true, but they could be doing something worse. They could be like egging your house. Or doing some crazy stuff. So come on, you want some candy? I'll give you some candy. I got some Rice Krispie treats. Whatever you want, here you go. Just don't come after 9.
Yeah, just stop making TikTok videos.
Yeah. If you make a TikTok video in front of my house, I'm robbing you. I'm taking at least 2 or 3 candies out of your bag.
Yeah. So. And the good stuff, the Snickers.
Yeah, I need the premium cut out this bag.
It's like when my parents used to sort my Halloween candy, they take all the good stuff. Oh, that's Snickers. That's not good.
Yeah.
All the Hershey's gone. Snickers gone.
Mm-hmm.
Lord. Okay, so let's kick this off, you guys. So I want to start off by talking about what the definition of a cookie actually is. In America, a cookie is described as a thin, sweet, usually small cake. By definition, a cookie can be any variety of handheld, flour-based sweet cakes, either crisp or soft. Each country has its own word for cookie. We know as cookies are called biscuits in England and Australia. In Spain, they're galetas. Germans call them keks, or I'm gonna murder this one. Palechten.
Halloween plug right there. Murder that.
Right. In Italy, they go by many different names, and like biscotti. There's so many different varieties in Italy. But yeah. So the history of a cookie. So let me first off by saying, what are y'all favorite cookies?
That's hard. I like cookies a lot.
Peanut butter.
I'm gonna go out the blue, and I'm gonna say one of my favorites. It's top tier cookies. I can't say I have a favorite, but there's a top tier. Is the Italian cucciolati.
He bougie. Okay, he like
Italian. Who's your daddy?
It's
or stirring the pot plug. Rouge your daddy.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
So a cucciolati is basically a shortbread type of cookie that is filled with a fig and I think it might have a little bit of alcohol in it. It has like a fig filling. It's kind of like the origin of the fig Newton, I would guess.
Yeah, it's a bougie fig Newton basically.
It's not bougie. Regular Italian people make these cookies and they eat them for the holidays.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds right up my alley.
It's
Right?
very good.
It's good. I mean, if you're from the South, you have to love anything fig. Fig
Mm-hmm.
preserves, and I mean, it's almost part of our DNA.
Mm. Italian. What is it called again?
Cucciolati.
Cucciadati. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
I need to taste. I need to taste that. Yeah, I need to
Sorry.
taste that.
That almost sounds like an after dark cookie.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Oh,
good.
oh,
It's a good
whoa!
one.
Hashtag
Anyway,
Cucciadati.
This could be very This could be misconstrued into something that's a little inappropriate.
oh
I'll
my
leave that
gosh!
there.
Right, on to part two: the history of the cookie. So cookies date back as early as the 7th century AD in Persia or current day Iran. This could possibly be due to the fact that they were one of the first countries to actually discover and cultivate sugarcane.
Yep, that's
So
true. Which is
this
a
is
form of grass.
yeah, which is a form of
Mm.
grass. So yeah, so it's pretty interesting that this came. Well, like most things, most of the origins of a lot of things come from that area. So it makes sense that it comes from that area. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Well, it's the cradle of civilization. I mean, that's first
Hmm.
civilizations were in the Middle East, so
Right,
Yeah.
right. So early cookies were described kind of like as test cakes. So basically, if you were like trying to figure out a cake recipe, you would make these little test cakes, and there you go. It became cookies. So that's pretty much the early part of like kind of Renaissance, where all of these Renaissance cookbooks started featuring cookies. They were derived from these little test cakes where people were trying to figure out all these recipes, and they
So
had to taste
cookies.
it.
Yeah. So cookies were a derivative of cakes,
Yes.
or well, sort of the prelude to a cake. So you would test out
Right.
your batter, I guess, for a cake to see if it had the right ratios, and then
Exactly. If it tasted right, and if it rose, if it had enough of the leavening and all that stuff to see. Just, I mean, it's the easy way to test a cake. You just got to cook a little
yeah.
bit and taste it. I know that when I was coming up with my recipe for gingerbread, we would take little pieces of dough and cook them in the skillet
does
to
work.
taste test the cookies to make sure, like, okay, I think we need to add more ginger. Oh, I think we need to add more cinnamon, or those kinds of things. So I can understand. I can totally get this.
Oh, it
So
makes perfect sense. I do that all the time whenever I make my homemade sausage. So I'll take
mhm.
brisket trimmings and other things, mix it all together, season it up, and then make me a little patty. Fry it
Yep.
up, make sure the seasoning's right,
It's the only
Yep.
way
and
to taste it.
if it's good, crank it out.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's a great way to do that.
Exactly. So what exactly, we can move on to part 3. What exactly is the anatomy of a cookie? What makes up a cookie?
Well, I mean, you would say, does it need to be flour based? And that's not necessarily true because there are
Not-
macarons that are
Right.
made with almond flour. So
Right. But some kind of flour.
Yeah, some kind of flour, bound together, sweet. I mean, they do make savory cookies, but they're not really a super popular thing. It's a sweet dessert, and it's the cookies have such a variety to them. It's kind of hard to nail down what makes it, but I mean, something that's sweet and has a soft, crispy texture.
Definitely the 4 main ingredients of any cookie. You're going to have your flour, you're going to have your sugar, you're going
And
to
some
have
type of
salt, and you're going to have a fat.
correct.
So those are the 4 things that you have to have in order to have a cookie. As we know, eggs are not always used. For instance, shortbread cookies, which I am the queen of shortbread. Self-proclaimed queen of shortbread.
Facts.
I don't have, eggs are not in my recipe. But
Right.
all 4 of these ingredients are. And the most important ingredient in that lineup is your salt. Because your salt is going to enhance everything else in that lineup.
That's true.
Period.
So true across the board.
Salt is really important in cookies because a lot of cookies have quite a bit of sugar, and that it needs something to contrast it. That's why nuts are usually a good addition to cookie. They kind of help level out that sweetness and give you a little bit of rich taste. So now cookies made with eggs are a different thing. You're talking like your classic cookies, peanut butter, chocolate chip, oatmeal, cowboy cookies. Those are a different type of cookie dough. They're pretty much made with a kind of the same recipe. It's 2 sticks of butter, 2 eggs. It's like a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of white sugar, and like 2 cups of flour or something like that. So it's not precise, and you can vary these ingredients using like a light brown sugar gives you a different texture. So there's all kinds of ways to vary your textures of cookies by picking your certain ingredients.
Speaking of texture, and I'm going to preface this by saying I am very much so a cliche savory cook, right? I'm a barbecue cook / chef, if you want to call me that, but I'm not great in the bakery area. So I definitely lean on KCP for my recipes and things that I need to do when it comes to baking.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question. When it comes to eggs, I've read that eggs usually provide more of like a texture, or you can give a little bit more moisture. It kind of helps with like gluten formation and things like that, make them a little bit more puffy.
Right.
Is that correct, or is there any more to that?
Right. So eggs are going to promote exactly what you said, puffiness. They're also going to promote a spreading in your cookie. So if you have a cookie that you don't want to spread, you don't put eggs. So like I said, shortbread do not have eggs in them. So you do not want shortbread. Sugar cookies either typically do not have eggs in them. And it also, eggs act as a binder. They hold everything together,
Right.
Especially in cookies that have a higher moisture content. You have your oatmeal, you have your chocolate chip. So those cookies, because of those darker brown sugar that you have in there, you have more moisture. So you need that egg to hold it all together so it doesn't just slide across the pan when you bake it, because that sugar is gonna melt and it's just gonna create like molten lava.
Oh my God. We have all baked cookies, at least the super novice amateurs, myself included in this, so I'm not taking shots at anybody. But we've all made cookies, a pan of cookies, and they were just, way too wet. And then you put them in the oven, and when you took them out, it was a thin cake layer.
Oh yeah.
There was no separation of cookies anymore. It was just one cookie.
You made a cookie cake is what you did. Yes. An unintentional cookie cake.
Eggs are your emulsifier. So that's what's going to help bind your water and your fat and your protein together. So with an egg. So there's protein's water soluble, fat's not water soluble. And then, so that's your binder right there. The eggs binds everything together. I'm also like you, B. I'm also a savory cook. Mostly I don't do a lot of desserts. But the one thing I can make is cookies. I can make cookies and brownies. That's pretty much the only thing I enjoy baking, by the way, too, because it's because I understand how to make. I can actually make my own cookie recipes because I understand the cookie base. So understanding the cookie base, like the egg, butter, that kind of base, I can vary it and learn how to bind ingredients together. So it's really not very difficult. So I've made all kind of crazy cookies. I mean, what was the one that I made? It was it had figs in it. It had oranges in it. It had some orange peel in it and pistachios. That's what it was. A fig orange pistachio cookie with a little bit of cardamom in it. So just by knowing the base of a cookie recipe and using like it's a pistachio cookie, so it's kind of like a peanut butter cookie, but pistachio is a little drier than peanut butter. So I actually had to add a little bit of avocado oil to the pistachio to get it turning into a peanut butter type consistency.
Yeah, he does really good like oatmeal cookies.
I can make chocolate chip cookies are pretty easy too. There's nothing hard about that. If you're looking for the recipe, what is it? The Mrs. Fields recipe, or one of those recipes, or the Toll House recipe is real famous, and it's a spot on recipe for chocolate chip cookies.
This leads me into another ingredient that sometimes goes into cookies, and that's going to be your baking powder or your baking soda. And what's the difference between those things? So basically, your baking powder is a leavener, and it's made from baking soda, cream of tartar, and cornstarch. Recipes that call for baking powder. Basically, why you need baking powder. So think of it like a floof powder. And I'm quoting Dylan Hollis right now. And if you guys don't know who Dylan Hollis is, you obviously haven't been on TikTok, because he's all over TikTok and he is hilarious. He's a baker, and he bakes all these old recipes, these vintage recipes, and he's just hilarious. And his cookbook just came out, and it's fantastic. Anyway, so he called baking powder floof powder, and that's exactly what it does. It fluffs up whatever you're baking. So if you want something to be like a little bit fluffy, you add that. And that's why most cake recipes have baking powder in them, because you want your cake to rise. You want a nice thick, like, sponge of a cake. You don't want a flat, you don't want a cookie, basically. You want a cake.
Right.
So that's the difference. And then with baking powder, you put baking powder in cookies because you want a chewier consistency. So, like, for instance, gingerbread has baking soda in it, because you want a more chewy consistency to your cookie.
Baking soda chewy, baking powder fluffy.
Baking powder is fluffy. Baking soda is chewy. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's that.
Take your notebooks out, people.
Right. That's one of the ways, especially for like when you're talking about the like the oatmeal cookie, chocolate chips cookie recipe, varying your baking soda to baking powder ratios. A lot of them use both. Changes the texture of it. Also, what can change the texture is your type of flour. So if you want a chewier cookie, you can use bread flour instead of all-purpose. If you want a softer cookie, you can use cake flour, which has the least amount of gluten, while all-purpose is a medium range, and then bread flour is a higher range of gluten.
Higher gluten. Yeah, exactly. So, ding! Just in case you didn't know, now you know. So let's jump into types of cookies. So I want to first jump into this one because it's probably the most, I guess, popular, and that's drop cookies. So drop cookies are going to be your chocolate chip. They're going to be your oatmeal. Anything like Brandon was saying, all the different types that he makes. And I guess cowboy cookies falls into that same
cowboy
kind of
cookie
thing.
Does too. A cowboy cookie has pecans, coconut, chocolate chips, and oatmeal.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like drop cookies have a lot more going on. Like they bring a lot to the party.
A drop cookie is for something that you want to mix a lot of ingredients in.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make a cookie that has a lot of ingredients, or you're trying to add different texture and things like coconut, shredded coconut, or chocolate chips or pecans, having that egg to bind that all together really helps, and it helps for it. Basically, you form a dough where it's all captured in that dough with the egg. So these cookies have a really wide variety of recipes. So you can make just anything you want. So if you understand how to make that cookie base, which you could just look at like a chocolate chip cookie recipe, and that's like the standard base for the cookie, and that you can mix anything you want in there. It just has to be in proportion. So
yeah,
that's very interesting. So this cowboy cookie is this? This sounds very Texas.
I don't know if it's from. It's either from Texas or from Oklahoma, but I don't know where. I don't know where it originated from. But they're actually really good.
Absolutely. The thing is, drop cookies they're made up of a soft dough that's dropped. Like literally, you take spoonfuls and you just drop them on your baking sheet or parchment or whatever. They spread. So that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
These cookies spread. They're not meant to stay in a shape. So don't think you're gonna bake some chocolate chip cookies and gonna decorate them like all pretty, because now there is a trick for perfectly round drop cookies, and I'm gonna reference chocolate chip cookies here. So what you do, you have your cookies, you drop your dough onto your sheet pan or whatever. You bake them according to the directions, right? You pull them out. While they're still warm, you take a drinking glass, right? You turn it upside down and you put the drinking glass over the cookie and you rotate it around the cookie. So what that's going to do, it's going to give it a uniform shape. It's going to mold it into a circle.
Oh, that's fire. Y'all are getting some heat today. Let me tell you, I want to pause right here because this is something that we've been talking about for the past 10 episodes. Now this is episode 11, is these guidelines on everything that we've been talking about, because a lot of people want to cook, they want to cook better, and they also want to experiment because they see a lot of experimenting happening, right? You're on TikTok, you're on social media, you see a lot of experimenting happening, and people want to experiment, but they don't understand that a lot of times there's guidelines that you can follow to help your experiments go better, you know, rather than trying to take a back road somewhere. You just, you know, hop on I-10 and you end up somewhere you don't know how you got there. If you follow these guidelines, then you can start to experiment because you realize the history, or not the history, you realize the backstory on why this is working and why things are not working. So that was awesome. I really like that tip.
With drop cookies, the recipe is pretty precise, like the ratio of flour to fat to eggs to sugar. All this is in, and then the leavening agents are pretty precise. But what you can do to vary the texture of a drop cookie is change the ratio of sugars. So if you want a crispier cookie, you use more white sugar than brown sugar. And then you would substitute dark brown sugar with light brown sugar. That would make your cookie a little bit drier and you'd end up with a crispier texture. So you can play with the ratios of sugar, but the sugar has to basically remain the same. A more white sugar will give you a sweeter cookie. A darker brown sugar will give you a cookie that's a little more muted in the sweetness because of the bitterness of the molasses that's added to the brown sugar. So that's what kind of tones the sweetness down. So you can vary the ratios of white sugar to brown sugar, but it all has to be the same amount. It has to be the same amount of sugar. So you can't use less sugar. Like a cookie is not a recipe where you can make it a lighter recipe. Like I'm trying to make diet cookies. Just give up. There's plenty of other things you can make. Make you a nice fruit salad, something else.
Not the fruit salad. Oh.
Yeah. Hey man, I love fruit salad. I have no problem.
Me too, but I just envision these 12 people sitting around in the living room just shooting the breeze, and 11 of them have cookies and one person has a fruit salad. That dude's pretty miserable. I promise you that.
Yeah, but the ratios are really you'd have to look up a particular recipe that's a lighter cookie. You can't. It's hard to mess with the ratios because it's so precise. Baking is a precise thing. It's not like, making like a marinara sauce where you could say, oh, I'm going to throw in this and that, and it's probably going to come out pretty good.
Right. The only thing that I have ever seen that I've never tried, by the way, this is I have not tried this out, but adding canned pumpkin, unsweetened canned pumpkin to a cookie recipe. So what that does is it kind of, same thing with applesauce, I think. It kind of changes. You use that instead of like the oils. I don't even know. But I saw a recipe literally this week where a lady went to the store. She got a container, like a bag of the chocolate chip mix, dry mix. It's like you can buy like the muffin mix. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
The chocolate chip mix, right? She mixed that and 1 can of unsweetened pumpkin together. And that's all she used. And she put it in an 8x8 pan and baked it.
Now, the first thing that I thought about was I need to take a look at this can and look at the ingredients on it.
Pumpkin. Just pumpkin.
Oh, it's just pumpkin. It's no pumpkin mixture or nothing like that. It's just
not pumpkin pie filling. Just straight pumpkin. And she mixed that with the chocolate chip cookie mix.
Seems like a cheap enough experiment to...
Right. I'm sure that can also be used for a cake mix. I mean, it's basically the same, kind of the same thing. So, right. I mean, it's like you said, it's a cheap enough experiment if you want to have a lighter calorie-wise cookie. It could work. I saw the end result. It looked pretty good, but it was more like it was more like a bar cookie where you have to just kind of like a cake, but just cut it into bars, Right. So
yeah, I mean, pumpkin probably has protein and emulsifiers in it that naturally occurring. that
Right.
allow you to make it into a cookie. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like that there's ways to make lighter cookies, but like what I'm saying is don't take a traditional standard cookie recipe and try to lighten it up. Say, oh, I'm gonna use half the amount of butter.
No.
It's
No, no,
not gonna
no.
work. It doesn't
No.
work.
Butter is
It's,
there for a reason.
it's
I'm not about eating light versions of anything.
no,
Okay,
you
Just
could,
if you're gonna do it, you might as well go all the way,
if
right?
you're
Like
gonna do it, do it. If you're not gonna
Mm.
do it, then don't do it and go another route. But
it's all
Right.
all in moderation, right? Like
right.
you're not gonna eat a whole pack of Oreos. You know, like if you're
Right.
gonna have some Oreos, have a couple Oreos, and I would rather have a real Oreo than some like lightened up version of it. Now, mind you, the Oreo thins are delicious as well. They're smaller, so I guess in my mind, it's lighter.
Now hold on. Do the thins have less cream, or is just the cookie?
No, I think it's just a cookie.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's why. Yeah, then that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just
We know
not
what's up.
Yeah, it's just don't mess with, like, look up a cookie recipe, just accept what it is, and if you want to mess with it, you can't really mess with these ratios without failing. So I'm just this is what it is.
Yeah. I want to move on to the second type of cookie, which I just kind of touched on, and that's a bar type cookies. So you have like your lemon bars. I mean, there's so many options out there. There's one cookie bar recipe that I know I've had in my childhood, and I want to say it was called Magic Bars. So like chocolate chips, butterscotch chips, shredded coconut. I don't know, but it was delicious. Yeah, have you ever heard of that?
No, I'm from a certain part of town where magic bars probably means something else. But anyway, yeah.
We're also forgetting the most famous cookie bar of all, the brownie.
Oh, you're right.
Brownies are cookies, not cakes. So they're cookie bars. So they call them cookie bars because you cut them into squares. But no, brownies are cookies. Yeah,
I know
brownies
somebody
are
that
cookies.
made those magic bars as well.
You know about them blondies, boy.
Oh, yes. Please explain to these people what blondies are, because
a blondie is a brownie that has no chocolate. So it is the same type of recipe, the same fat to flour to egg ratio, but no chocolate and vanilla flavored, or anything else you can imagine, just non-chocolate flavored. We've done praline flavored ones as well too.
Absolutely. Let me reach out and let y'all know something. To all our subscribers, do yourself a favor. Any baking recipe, especially cookies, that calls for butter, brown that butter first.
Yep.
Brown it.
Worth the effort.
Will change your life. It will change your life. It will change your recipe, and it will blow people's mind. Because you should have seen Barbecue Brand's face the first time he had one of them blondies.
Oh man, y'all already know how I act on here when we start talking about some of this food.
Because our blondies have brown butter in them, and it completely changes the way that it tastes. Like, it just heightens every single flavor in that recipe.
Yeah, you see KCP and Brandon D thought they was slick. They came to a competition not that long ago this year, and they bought a whole container of those blondies, and we were eating them, and then we were packing up, and I got home, and I was tired from the weekend, and I said, you know what would be really, really good right now? It's just one of those delicious blondies. And I searched the house, and it was nowhere to be found. So they owe me some more. I'm telling you right now. They're so good.
I was not in the conversation that you two had about.
I didn't want those things. I did not want those things coming home with me. I
take responsibility. I take full responsibility over this, because I grabbed them and stuck them in wherever. We were just packing up to leave, because y'all, it was so hot. Our brains weren't working.
We were just ready to get out of there. It's like, I'm tired of the sun. That was my last. That was my last outdoor activity for the summer in Louisiana, Texas of 2023, which was just god awful.
Oh, that was in the middle of summer too,
August,
and even the water was hot in the pool. Everything was hot.
It was really hot, really, really, really hot. So I take full responsibility. I'll make you some more blondies.
Appreciate you, my girl.
Wouldn't want you to hold that over my head.
Oh yeah, I wanted to tell. This is what I remember. I remember the oatmeal cookie recipe that I used was the one for Quaker Oats, but they changed this thing. They lightened it up. You know, they say it used to call for 2 sticks of butter. Now it calls for 2 half sticks of butter. But lucky for me, I remember the original recipe.
Time out. Wait, it calls for 2 half sticks of butter. Is that what it says?
That's what it says. I looked it up. I was like, wait a minute.
Wait, that doesn't even make sense to me.
That's
One
nonsensical.
stick. That's 1 stick of butter. Why would you say you need 2 half sticks of butter?
Yeah, you going around the
That's what it says.
Go across the street.
1 1/4 cups. 2. Oh no, it's I'm sorry. It's 2. What is this? 2. It doesn't make any sense. I'm looking at this and I'm like 1. What is 1 1/4 cups of butter? 1 cup of butter is a half stick.
A cup
1
of
cup
butter
of butter is 2 sticks.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, maybe they didn't change. Man, that was more butter than maybe they put more butter in this recipe.
Oh well, big ups to them then.
Right.
Yeah, but in other words, it's like what I remember. They changed the recipe. It's basically 2 sticks of butter, a cup of brown sugar, a half cup of white sugar, 2 eggs, and then like 2.5 and like 2 or 3 cups of flour. I can't remember the precise one, but it's like the standard. But with oatmeal cookies, use less flour because you add oatmeal.
Do you put the oatmeal in the food processor, or do you just throw it in as is?
You just throw it in. Yeah. It's got to be quick. It's got to be quick oats. It's got to either be quick oats or it's got to be
the old fashioned.
Old fashioned, yeah. Quick oats are chopped up, so I think the old fashioned give you a better texture.
Ah, I see. Oh, I can see that.
Because basically, quick oats are like you take old-fashioned oats, rolled oats, which means you put them through a roller and then you chop them up to make them cook faster. That's quick oats.
The more you know.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on to the next type of cookie, which is your rolled cookies, which are my specialty, which are shortbread. Let's see. You have shortbread. You have gingerbread.
Sugar cookies.
So
are snickerdoodles a rolled cookie or is that a drop cookie?
I think snickerdoodles are drop cookies.
Yeah, I thought so.
But it just depends because to be perfectly honest with you, for some sugar cookies, I would say that they're more of a drop cookie. It just all depends because some sugar cookies spread and some don't. I don't know why. This is something that's just come to me and that I need to research.
I guess it depends on how it's made. Some people maybe make sugar cookies differently.
Maybe they put eggs in some recipes.
Right.
Because my arch nemesis cookies company.
Oh.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to take the bullets. I can't stand crumble cookies. They're the worst ever. Those cookies are sugar cookies, and they definitely have eggs in them.
No,
100%.
those cookies are not sugar cookies. Those cookies are super duper diabetes sugar cookies. That's what that is.
The diabetes cookies.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say about. I've had some cookies at Crumble that I thought were good, but most of the stuff I found. What was the good one that I had over there? It was a chocolate cookie. It was a dark chocolate cookie, and that one was actually pretty good. But I found most of their cookies are very out of balance with flavor. They're very, very high in sugar.
They don't have flavor. That's the whole thing. They don't have any flavor but sugar.
They're very, very light on the flavoring and just really, really heavy on the sugar and not. I don't know. They're just not that great. I don't see why. I think the gimmick of them is that they're huge.
Yeah, they're huge.
Oh, my stomach bubbling.
First of all, I know y'all just heard Brandon D saying how he likes some crumble cookies in this house.
He
better
did
never bring them things in this house, boy. I'm gonna just tell you right
chocolate.
now.
No, the dark chocolate.
I'm just saying the dark chocolate.
If I see that box come in this house, you can eat it in the drive.
You're the one. Time out. You're the one that brought the cookies in the house. I didn't even bring them. I never willingly. I will never go to Crumble Cookies because I don't. There's nothing there for me.
Time out, cuz I didn't buy them though.
Yeah, that's sure.
They had them at work, and I brought them for you to try.
Okay. I wasn't impressed. I mean, I really wasn't impressed.
But I did try them. And that's how I know they trash.
Look, I'm just gonna say like. They're not. They're really not that. They're not my thing.
Not trash. They some trash.
Some trash. Correction. They're very very high and very sweet. The flavorings are not really there.
No,
I mean,
no.
It's just not that great. I'm not impressed. I mean,
no, I'm not. So yeah, we had a work function and they had some catering. It was funny because they catered barbecue and they got these these huge boxes of crumble cookies, and then everybody was in my face about how the barbecue was and everything. So, we were talking about that, and I was like, man, I never had crumble before. I really want to see what the hype is about. I am going to grab one of each of these cookies because there were a ton of cookies and there were not a lot of people there. So I was like, okay, this is towards the end of the evening. So I got 3 different crumble cookies and I don't remember what flavor they were supposed to be. I do remember that I took a bite of one, I took a bite of the second one, and I took a bite of the third one. And all I remember is just sugar. Like I remember my stomach being like, bro, eating a little dessert after a meal is fine, but like eating a straight up tablespoon of sugar is not cool. We're not rocking with you on this. Please don't do this to me again. And ever since that moment, I was like, okay, body, I hear you. Right. The last time I walked past the crumble cookie, somebody opened the door and I needed an insulin shot. So it is what it is. I don't know if y'all out there in podcast land like crumble cookies, but good Lord, it is just so sweet for no reason.
Right.
It really is.
It's too over the top. Like the one that I have tried, it was, I'm a sucker for anything lemon. Like you put anything lemon flavored in front of me, I'm a like moth to a flame, right? So lemon cookie. All right, let me try this out, right? Like barbecue Branson. Let me see what the hype is all about, right? Took a bite and I was like, this is supposed to be lemon? It was like a whisper of lemon. Like, I want that lemon to make my jaw like pucker up. I want somebody like lemon to hit me in the jaw. That kind of flavor.
Yeah, you need a punch of lemon. If you're gonna put lemon in something, you sweeten your lemon up and then you hit them with it. Like,
right?
No, come on now. Don't
cover
up the lemon with sugar. They cover up every one of their flavors with sugar.
Oh yeah.
Like the real flavor of lemon comes from using lemon peel, not lemon juice. Lemon juice is just sour,
right?
And lemon peel is where the real lemon flavor is, a lemon zest. And I mean, it's just crumble is just there's nothing impressive about their cookies. If you want like a really good cookie, go to Potbelly and get their oatmeal chocolate chip cookie, and that cookie is fantastic.
Yeah,
very very well balanced. This is a sandwich place that has made a better cookie than Crumble has ever made.
Oh yeah, I don't know if they have. Is Potbelly in Louisiana at all?
I don't know, but
I don't think so.
It's here in Texas, but they make a pretty good sandwich and they make really good cookies. They make a good. I think they do a sugar cookie and a snickerdoodle sometimes too, but they have a better. Their cookies are way better than Crumble. Crumble cookies are just. It's a gimmick. I mean, that's what it is.
That's all it is. It's a giant cookie. Yeah. And then to like make it even more gimmicky, they have like a special crumble cookie cutter where it cuts the cookie into 4 pieces because the cookie is like 1,500 calories. So, I mean, who can eat that whole thing? So we're gonna put it into portion size for you.
Man, my stomach is really hurting talking about this. I'm not lying to y'all.
They're just not.
Oh, my stomach bubbling.
They're not good. They're like I said, the only one I had that I thought was decent was the chocolate. And that's because it had a lot of chocolate in it and it just kind of balanced it out. But other than that,
because that chocolate is bitter. It's a bitter note. So what that's going to do is going to balance out all that sugar. That's what it did.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why you were able to eat it, because if not,
I'm just trying to think of places that
tasting-
really have really good cookies, and that's just not one of them.
No, it's not. It's really not. And that's I don't get it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna dust the bullets off my shoulders, but y'all can shoot me down. It ain't happening. There's so much.
Y'all know why we here. What is this called? Stirring the pot. Let's stir.
That's exactly what this
We're gonna
is.
give you the facts.
Look, okay. Look, I've had better cookies at Albertsons.
Oh
Okay.
man, that's true though. I have.
Albertsons has some legit cookies. Like they have a chocolate chip pecan cookie, and I'm not a chocolate chip fan. I'm not. But that one with the pecans, it gives it that salty edge, so you have that balance, and that's why it's so good. Because I love anything like that's gonna complement each other. So sweet and salty all day long.
I'd rather get cookies from Subway than get cookies from Crumble.
God, dog.
Yeah, because Subway cookies aren't bad, man. They're pretty good.
They make them fresh.
It's just there's nothing like super special about them, but there's also nothing wrong with them. So
nothing wrong with them.
Yep, I have.
But there's a lot wrong with Crumble cookies. I don't give a shit about Crumble cookies. Like you show up with those, I'm like, whatever, man. That's not that great.
Oh, you're gonna give plenty of shits about Crumble cookie when you eat it.
Oh.
That's true.
I promise you that. Okay, so I'm about to switch gears right now, just while I'm thinking about this, because I just thought about this. Southerners bake really well. Like we're known for baking. Like Southerners, your Southern grandmother, your Southern auntie, like they can just bake. Like you just go to a small town and you get some really good mom and pop type bakeries and things like that. We're really good with that. But we're also really good with our savory dishes too. And I feel like the reason that you're good at one and may not be so good at the other is, for instance, when you go in the kitchen and you cook a savory dish, you can go by a feel, right? You can just kind of sense what that dish needs. Things are very precise when you bake.
Right.
You can't necessarily go off a feel, can you? When you bake? And I'm asking this question to you because you're the expert on this panel.
Not when it comes to the main ingredients.
Yeah.
Only the flavor additives that you're putting into your baking. So any spices, anything like that that's not going to affect your actual texture or the structure of your bake, whatever that is.
The base has to, you can't play with the base of a cake or a cookie or a pie. It's real precise. And then you have to understand how your seasoning, how your flavorings will affect, sometimes they can affect the texture of your dessert. I mean, so you can't add too much liquid. You can't add too much, things that are usually pretty safe for like spice powders are usually pretty safe. Things like lemon zest or orange zest, also pretty safe.
Anything dry. A dry ingredient is safe.
Anything with water, you cannot add anything that's too watery. So with extracts, whether they be alcohol-based extracts like vanilla extract or emulsion extracts, those you have to be careful with. There's only so much you can add before you start hurting the texture of your product.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes perfect sense to me. Like I was talking about earlier with the guidelines. I follow guideline A, B, C, D. Once I make sure that I have my structure down, I have my basis down, then I can bust them in the mouth with flavor. Right.
There you go.
Okay. All right. I got it.
I can tell you.
I'm on the train now. I'm good.
You can safely double the cinnamon recipe in any baking. It's the cinnamon amount in any baking recipe, and it won't hurt it.
I can definitely attest to that because I think that when a recipe calls for cinnamon, it's never enough. I need to be punched in the jaw with some flavor. Like that cinnamon needs to come through strong. That nutmeg, all those warm spices, that needs to come through strong. I'm telling you right now, I think my gingerbread could be the best.
Oh, if you wasn't gonna mention it, I was about to say something about it. Let me tell y'all something.
I'll pat myself on the back a little bit because I worked hard trying to develop the flavors for that gingerbread. I wanted to make a gingerbread that was so just flavorful, but not sweet. Look, my mouth is watering thinking about my gingerbread.
Mine too. See, this is that contrast right now. We were talking about crumble. I'm glad we talked about that first, so that now we can talk about shortbreadery. Talk about some good stuff. Your cookies are just some of the best. Shortbread. The shortbreadery shortbreads are just something that you just didn't even know you needed in your life, but once you have it, you'll be like, okay,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah, now I know.
Yeah. It is really about what KCP's shortbreads. It's just being bold with the flavors. You know, like there's no reason to tone it down or be muted. Like we're not trying to make muted flavors here. You're trying to be bold with flavors. Use more spices. Use more of it. You want that to be more forward. So the shortbreadery's concept is, you know, classic shortbreads, but with more flavor forward concepts.
Yes.
So, you know, so instead of being like, you know, when you get a lemon shortbread from the shortbreadery, it's not going to be like a little bit of lemon. It's going to usually taste like, wow, this is a lemon cookie and it's good.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt in your mind what you eating.
No diggity.
Right. And another thing, like I'll give this, we're talking about like warm spice cookies. My trick with like my oatmeal cookies, I'll give this secret away, is to use a tiny pinch of cayenne pepper with warm spices. And that actually helps. You won't taste heat because there's too much sugar in a cookie to really make this burn. So you'll actually enhance the warm spices by putting a little bit of cayenne pepper in there, and not much. I mean, I'm talking like a sixth of a teaspoon type of amount, just a little bit. And another one,
pinch.
Yeah, another one people miss too is they don't do clove. Clove is another good one to do, but once again, clove, you have to be careful. You have to use a very small amount of clove, just a little.
Uno poquito.
Yeah.
Yeah, just literally like a pinch.
Right, and clove, and I would never double clove amount in any recipe, but you can safely double cinnamon. Cinnamon and nutmeg. I like to be nutmeg is a little overpowering, so I don't like to double nutmeg too much. But cinnamon, you can definitely double that.
So I'm glad you said that, because I actually had a conversation the other day with one of my good friends, Jason Pettis, that I cook with, and we were talking about doubling, tripling, quadrupling batches of things that we were cooking, right? And there's certain ingredients that you can do that with. If you have a recipe for one batch and you need to make 4 batches, there are certain ingredients that you can double, triple, quadruple, and it won't affect the taste. But there's other ingredients that you need to be very, I guess, weary of, or be privy to the fact that some ingredients are going to greatly differentiate your taste between one product and another just by doubling or tripling that amount, just because that is maybe a polarizing ingredient, and you triple that for the batch, and you may have to work with that. So I don't know if that's the same for cookies. I'm sure there are ingredients that you can put in cookies that are the same outcome.
Yeah, you can double some, and others you can't. Like one of those, like when you're talking about double, is salt. You cannot quadruple the amount of salt that you need in a recipe, or black pepper. It's not going to take 4 times as much black pepper to do that, because black pepper is a weird ingredient. If you add it at the beginning, and you add too much, by the end it's going to be way too much. So,
yeah.
And
so you have to be careful with things like. And another thing is also any type of hot, like chili powder. You're not going to need 4 times as much of that in a bigger batch recipe. So if you're making like doubling cookie recipes and use a little bit of cayenne, you're not going to really need to double that amount. No. You just need a little bit. So, but cinnamon is one of the ones you can safely double the cinnamon, especially if it's a cinnamon forward recipe, like you're making like a cinnamon forward cookie or cake. Yeah, you could use more cinnamon safely.
Right. Like with a snickerdoodle, you can add quite a bit of cinnamon.
More cinnamon. Yeah.
To me, that just makes it better.
I'm a fan of cinnamon, so
yeah,
I am too.
So let's move on to the other types of cookies. We have molded cookies, which are like, I know this is Barbecue Brandon's favorite, peanut butter.
Yeah, peanut butter are good.
Yeah. Yes. So, but what confused me about this category is I always thought peanut butter cookies were more of a drop cookie. I guess because you actually do like the cross section with the fork. I guess just to make it its signature little.
Yeah, I think
little.
now a peanut butter cookie is kind of the same as a it's kind of like a drop cookie because you use eggs in peanut butter cookies,
right?
But they don't really flow as nicely. They do spread. I mean they spread, but they don't. I think they need a little help. So that's why you do the crosshatch to kind of help it out because the peanut butter has a lot of protein in it, and that really holds things together.
That's what
Correct.
it is. It's made from a much stiffer dough that's more like a clay consistency, and you roll that dough into balls.
Right.
And then you cross hatch it, so then it has, it's not going to bake in a ball form.
Another good thing about this peanut butter cookie recipe is you can use a peanut butter cookie recipe to make another nut butter cookie recipe. So if you want to make almond butter cookies, it's pretty much the same thing. It's like a 1-to-1 substitution. You could do almond butter. You could do sunflower butter. I've done sunflower butter cookies. I've done pistachio butter cookies, walnut butter cookies. But the one that you have to be careful with is pistachios because they have a less fat than the peanut butter. You have to add a little bit of oil to get like the same texture as a peanut butter.
Right. Right.
But so you can use the peanut butter cookie recipe to make different types of cookies. So, and you can also add different spices to peanut. If you want to make a spiced peanut butter cookie, you can do that too. That's perfectly legitimate.
That sounds really good.
That sounds very good.
We might have to do that.
We doing it. That's for sure.
I mean, you could use something like let's say like a flavoring, almost like a curry flavor, but not not as without like the cilantro and all that other stuff that you use in savory curries, but like a chai tea flavor would make a good peanut butter cookie. So if you wanted to like say take the butter that you use in peanut butter cookies and bloom like some chai tea spices in there, that would go really good with a peanut butter cookie. You could also use like the same spice mixture as you would use in any type of spice cookie. If you did like a gingerbread spice blend and add it to a peanut butter cookie, that would work well too. Peanut butter works really well with spices. So
I want y'all to take note of something. So this happens not just on the podcast. This happens every time we get together. We start thinking and putting our brains together and we just start coming up with things. But you see what just happened organically there? We just started talking about all kind of things. We took a baseline of something and then we started talking about things that you can add to it that wouldn't necessarily affect the structure of the cookie, but that would affect the taste and that would enhance the flavors.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm excited about that because you know how I love me some peanut butter. So,
right. I mean, another interesting spice to use in a cookie, and I know this sounds weird, but it's black pepper. Black pepper can work in a cookie. Now you can't use coarse ground black pepper like you use in a you season your steak. But black pepper can actually work really well with spice blends. Once again, it's that peppery flavor can actually enhance certain spices, so it gives you a different taste on it. So black pepper is another ingredient that you can use in cookies if you're used correctly. Right. You're not going to need a whole tablespoon of it, but sugar really changes how things hit your palate. So black pepper in a sweet application, I mean, like chai tea is a sweet drink. Chai tea has black pepper in it.
It has black pepper in it.
That's right.
So okay, right. If we take some butter, infuse it, brown it, and then infuse it with some chai tea spices, and mix that into the peanut butter cookie recipe.
Oh, we getting crazy. I love
it. This brings up a good point. Is butter infusions into cookies a recipe? So infusing a butter with certain spices can actually help you enhance flavors in your cookies.
One of my secret things that I do with my cookies, all these flavors, all these unique flavor combinations that I have come up with for my cookies, it's easier to infuse those flavors in the fat, the butter, than to add it to your cookie. That way, you're not changing the texture of your cookie. You're not changing the structure of your cookie, but you're adding flavor. You're adding just all these interesting things that would normally change the structure of your cookie if you used it. It's kind of like that thinking that we covered a few podcasts ago. You kind of think in reverse with these cookie recipes. So
Mm-hmm.
how can I get this product, the same product at the end, and change it somehow in the recipe to be a flavor that is unique? But I don't want to change the end result. So I need to figure out within this combination how to change this up just a little bit. And that's how you have to think. That's how I think about all the flavors for my cookies. Like, how can I change this into something different? How can I better this recipe without affecting the structure at the end?
So, and the good and the important thing about that is that spices bloom in fat.
Yes.
And they bloom differently in fat than they do in water.
Yes.
And what you did when you bloom a spice in fat, you end up with the more rounded flavor profiles of the spice and not really the sharp notes.
Yes.
So that's why it works really good in cookies, because when you bloom spices in fat, you end up with those round flavors. You end up with the deeper flavors from the spices.
Yes.
Water does bring out flavors and spices too, but they're different. It's not the deep flavors. The deep flavors come from blooming in fat. So most of these spices and herbs, the flavor compounds are oils. So you're extracting those oils into fat, straining those solids out, and you're left with just the flavoring.
Yes.
Yes.
So anybody out there, if you want to try this out, cake recipe, cookie recipe, like let's just say a sugar cookie recipe. You have a great sugar cookie recipe, right? That sugar cookie recipe is going to call for butter. No matter what, it's going to call for butter because you need that fat element. It's in the, it's in the lineup. You can't go without it, okay? Melt that butter on the stove in a pot and just open up a pack, cut open a pack of chai tea. Just a pack. Just cut it open, have the tea bag, dump it out in there, and just let it stay in there nice and warm. Just keep it in there, I guess, 30 minutes. But keep it warm. Keep it on real low. You take that out and you strain it. You want to get all the tea leaves, all the spices, everything out. Let that butter, whatever your recipe is, if your butter needs to be room temperature, let that butter cool off to where it's a more solid state, right? I'm telling you right now, it's going to blow your mind. That butter infusion will blow your mind. It'll be like snickerdoodles on crack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving this conversation.
Yeah, you can use there's so much thing you can do with spices and blooming these in fat. It's a trick I've used for a long time. I'd use it a lot for like steaks. I'll bloom like rosemary in fat, and like doing rosemary. Like and rosemary is a good flavor to use in cookies too. Believe it or not, you can use rosemary in sweet applications. It gives but you have to bloom it in fat to tone that down and round the flavor profile of it, because otherwise it's too sharp. You end up with something that tastes like pine sol. It's too piney.
Yeah, it'd be too piney, too grassy. Yeah,
but I'm thinking like what a rosemary could work really well in a sugar cookie too. So you really have to be really open-minded with this,
Mm-hmm.
But blooming these spices and fats really helps. It gives you the nice round profile. You're not going to get the real, I guess you would say, medicinal, like astringent taste you get from like something that's bloomed in water. It's a different flavor.
Yep.
This is why people add fats like cream and milk to tea, is to help kind of bring those flavors back into balance.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I challenge our subscribers to try that. Try it out.
Right.
You don't have to get fancy with some fancy cookie recipe. Go, and there's nothing wrong with cake mix. There's nothing wrong with the little cookie pre-mixed stuff, the dry stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I challenge you guys to do it. Get that cookie mix, that dry cookie mix, that Betty Crocker in the bag, and when you do your butter, do it that way. It'll change everything.
And you bring up a good point about cake mixes. Cake mixes make great cookies too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Cake batter cookies I love them.
They're delicious.
Look, I have a niece who is an expert at making cake batter cookies. So much so they cause fights at family functions of who gets the last cookie. Any flavor combination. I'll give you guys my cake mix cookie recipe. 1 box of cake mix, 1 egg, and a stick of butter. Melted stick of butter. Mix those ingredients together. It makes a really thick dough. And you can add anything. You can add, like, my favorite combination is strawberry cake mix, and you add chocolate chips in it. Semi-sweet chocolate chips.
Oh.
So good. And it's a drop cookie. You put those, bake them, how long? How long is it?
Cookies don't take very long. It's usually 9 to 13 minutes. I'd say 13 minutes is that's like the wall. Like, if it takes you longer than that, like, you're just not looking at these cookies right. They don't take longer than 13 minutes. And I'm gonna tell you this:
that oven better be on like 300.
Cookie mistake number 1 is overcooking.
Yeah,
overcooking cookie. You have to trust in the process of cookies, and unless you live at 20,000 feet, it's not going to take that long. At sea level down here, it takes about usually about 10 to 11 minutes is about average, depending on the size of your cookies. But you have to take them out and let them sit, and don't touch them. Yeah. And let it steam off, let it come together, and let it before you dig into them. I know it's tempting.
Yeah.
But over baking is number 1. Cookie sin number 1 is over baking.
Very
absolutely. True. A box of cake mix, 1 egg, and a stick of butter melted.
I also give another simple cookie recipe, the Nutella cookie. 1 cup of flour, 1 egg, and 1 cup of Nutella. Mix it together, make it into a dough, press it out, bake it. Guess what? Only takes about 10 minutes. And there you go. That is a great cookie. That's one of the best cookie recipes I've ever seen.
So real quick, we're going to go over some more types of cookies. Real quick.
Cookies are a huge topic.
Oh, yeah. And I've only narrowed it down to like 8 types. There's so many different varieties. But like, these are the most popular. So you have your sandwich cookies. You have that fall under that category. Of course, Oreos, which are a type of shortbread. So you have your shortbread cookie sandwiches. Then you have your whoopie pies, which are a more cakey type of cookie, which if you guys have never had a whoopie pie, they're amazing. And they're like all the rage. We went to Maine on a trip one time, and everybody had whoopie pies in every store, and it was glorious. Oh. They were so delicious. So we have that. And then we have your no-bake cookies. For instance, Rice Krispie treats. That falls into your no-bake cookies.
Is that technically a cookie?
It's technically a cookie because
wow.
It's a bar.
It's a bar cookie. That's what I was going to say.
Cookie, but it's a no-bake bar cookie.
It's interesting.
So you have a lot like that.
Don't use Rice Krispies. Use like Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles. Make a good one too.
Cornflakes.
Cornflakes. Captain Crunch makes a good one.
I'm so traditional. I gotta have them Rice Krispies with.
Right, it gotta be traditional.
and don't try to skimp out on that either. Don't use like some.
Don't use fluff. Do not use fluff.
No. Get the good marshmallows, and you use a good amount of butter.
Yes.
Put
those marshmallows in butter.
Don't use less butter. Don't do it. You put the right amount of butter, or you put more. All right. That's only 2 options. Don't put less.
Hey, barbecue brand.
Yes.
You go brown that butter first?
If it's brown, it's better, baby.
So we making brown butter Rice Krispie treats too?
Hey, we making brown butter Rice Krispie treats. We making some infused, some spiced peanut butter cookies.
Yes.
I might even smoke some butter. We might do some smoked cookies. Y'all know about that. Pull out my specialty right now. Let me flex my muscles right quick.
No, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Smoke would actually work really good in a cookie, especially like a chocolate cookie.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Smoke will work really well.
Absolutely.
Now this is a rare thing. If you could find it, they're not often Rice Krispie treats, but with apple cinnamon Rice Krispies. Oh. I've never even seen those, huh?
Never seen them.
They exist. They do exist. Rare find.
They're still out there. That wasn't a limited edition.
I don't know. I've seen them only like a few times.
Don't buy that box off of eBay now. Somebody's been holding on to that since 1987.
Oh Lord, definitely my stomach bubbling.
Yeah, they did make him.
Mm-mm.
Hey, look,
Okay, so
it's on Amazon. It's $14. What?
Oh, see, no, that box too old.
that's an old box. No,
I don't know.
you might as well get you some Apple Jacks and grind that up. All right, so we have the no bake cookies. We also have icebox cookies, which I don't know about this category. They said shortbread or icebox cookies. I
No,
don't know about that.
shortbreads are cooked. Icebox cookies aren't cooked.
Yeah,
Which
I don't know
means,
about
like,
that.
which is weird because, like, you know, with let's everybody know safety moment of the episode.
Womp, womp, womp.
Flour is a raw ingredient.
Let's go.
Flour, raw. You handle flour, you treat flour, you should treat flour like you treat any raw ingredient, whether it be meat or anything else. It is a raw ingredient. It's not pasteurized, sanitized, or anything like that. So
Do not eat raw cookie dough.
do not
people.
eat raw flour. No, it's a bad idea. It's not the eggs, it's the flour.
It's
Wow.
the flour.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
big. That's big. Nobody
Yeah.
knows that. I don't know that. I didn't know that.
No.
But if you read the bag of flour, it says, do not consume raw flour. If you
Oof.
have to have some of that cookie dough, get your frying pan out and fry you a little cookie on there to try it out.
No.
If you gotta have it, do it
You can
that
make
way.
you can make what you do is if you want to make raw, if you want to eat raw cookie dough,
Mhm.
you have to take your flour and you have to cook it in the oven at like 200 degrees for like 20 minutes or something like that.
It's got to be cooked.
That'll pasteurize it. So
Yes.
you could do that, and then if you want to put eggs in it, you can buy pasteurized eggs as well.
There you go. We help
Safety
people out
moment
tonight.
of the day.
Safety moment of the day.
So, and the last cookie on this little list that I have here is your pressed cookies. So, to me, these are kind of like a cross between your sugar cookie and your shortbread cookie, but you have to have like a cookie press or a cookie gun. So, the most famous pressed cookies are something everybody knows but forgets about, because most of the time, them cookie tins have sewing needles and thread in them. Those little Danish butter cookies.
Right.
Man.
Oh, what's another version? I guess would pizzelles be considered a pressed cookie?
Oh, I don't know. That is a very good question, because pizzelles are cooked in a pizzelle maker, kind of like a waffle maker.
Yeah, I don't know if
So
it's a cookie.
would a waffle also be considered?
Y'all over my head right now with these panzels. Is that what you said?
Pizzelles, yeah. It's an
Pizzelle.
Italian.
Pizzelle. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an Italian cookie. Oh, another one. What about the Stroop waffle? Is that a cookie?
Is that a cookie or a
Ooh.
waffle?
I don't know. That's a more.
I don't know, but
that's
they
a
are
cookie.
delicious. They
That
are
is
delicious.
A Wookie, because
A Wookie.
it's a Wookie.
Do the sound, Brandon D.
Oh, I don't know if I can do it right now. I can't do it.
Do it. You got
I can't do it. I can't do it on command.
Did someone say a Wookie?
I can't do it.
I feel like I'm gonna date myself real quick. I feel like this was Pee Wee's Playhouse, and somebody said the secret word of the day.
Yeah.
Wookie.
Oh, R.I.P. my boy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, but those little Stroop waffles are
Stroop waffles are awesome.
yeah, they go great with coffee. I love those.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
We somebody taught me. I don't know who taught me how to do this, or not how to do this. It's not a process, but you take those Stroop waffles and you put over your hot cup of coffee and let them kind of warm up a little bit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With that being said, I want to read our little end quote of the night. This comes to us from Terry. I'm going to murder this last name. Gil. I'm going to just say it like it's French. Guillemont. From Terry Guillemont. Desserts are the fairy tales of the kitchen. A happily ever after to supper. With that,
I like that.
Yeah.
pretty good, right? Pretty good. Pretty good
sure.
for the cookie. Yeah. So, all right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And we want to ask you, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, interact with us. Watch all of our little shorts. Barbecue Brand has been putting up some shorts lately. Watch all our other episodes. We're going to have one more episode left for this season, guys. So next week, tune in. It'll be our last one for season 1. And then we're going to take a little break for the holidays. So make sure you're caught up. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like. Make sure you comment. And with that being said, Keep stirring the pot. Peace.
Yep. Later. Good night.
Peace.